right, welcome back everybody to another episode of Fantasy with Man McMahon. We are back on it with Fantasy Premier League after the last episode being about Fantasy UCL. I actually first want to start off by saying thank you. The reception on that video was incredible. I never thought anything like that would be possible. We are over 2,000 views and it doubled my subscriber count, so thank you to every single one of you. I really appreciate it. Today, we are going to be looking at Game Week 5 and recapping a bit of Game Week 4 from Fantasy Premier League. It was not a great game week for me personally, and I think for most people. Antonio let down. We'll get into that in a little bit. I'll break down what went wrong last week. It was definitely a step back, and we'll talk about how we're moving forward for this Game Week 5. We're busting out a little something special this week, so yeah, let's get into it. All right, so now let's do a quick little recap of Game Week 4 because, yeah, it was painful. Well, I know me personally, I got hit badly on the transfer deductions because originally it was only supposed to be 3 transfers for me to get Ronaldo, and that was working. That would have been fine. An 8-point transfer deduction, I was fine with that. But then, at the 11th hour, I had to get rid of Son, because he got injured during the international break, and it was very much up in the air. Was he going to play, yes or no? And it was back and forth. And eventually, had to pull the trigger. I transferred him out, and I think I transferred out Cresswell. Swapped him out for Trent and Jota. Those guys were okay. Like performance-wise, it kind of balanced out for the most part. But what hurt is an additional 8 transfer deduction points. So I got hit with 16. I'll pull up the scoreboard now just for reference. I got hit with 16 transfer point deductions. There's nothing I really could have done about them. I had already confirmed the transfers. So I just had to deal with it. And then I thought Calvert-Lewin would be back, given that he had so much time to rehabilitate. But this must be like a pretty serious injury that he's dealing with, because the fact that he's training, which is a good sign, but he had that much time, didn't play for England during the international break, had that much time to rehabilitate, get back to normal, and still couldn't get it done. So that was my one automatic substitution, was Luka Dean got subbed in for him, and Basuma would have been better. I contemplated using my bench boost, and I should have, because, well, as you can see, there's 11 points left on that bench, and wow, really could have used those this week. But let's talk about it. So, it seems like Spurs without Son aren't very good, but of course, the Tanganga red card, what can you do about that? That's just unfortunate. And then it was a penalty, and then that's why Lloris has only 1 fantasy point to his name. It was just a bad game week for Spurs. I think Harry Kane, I mean, maybe he can bounce back, but he's going to turn into a differential pick soon if he's not careful. Backline was relatively solid, because originally it was a back 3 of Laporte, Trent, and Diaz, and that is a back 3. Performed exactly as expected. Couldn't ask for anything more. The midfield, it's all right. Benrahma, that West Ham game was a disaster. I'll talk about Benrahma and Antonio at the same time, might as well. A red card and a 0-0 draw. Come on, man. You can't, it's Southampton. I know they've kind of been giant killers the last 3 weeks, but it's Southampton, and you can't get anything. It was tough. It was tough. And then Traore, Wolves finally got something to go their way, but Traore was not a beneficiary of that, and c'est la vie. Pogba with his 2 assists, very, very solid. And Ronaldo, who could have asked for a better debut? A brace, a 4-1 win in front of the home fans. You love to see. And then Jota. Oh my God, the king of missed opportunities. And some of them weren't even his fault. The majority of it, people that had Jota in their fantasy team were probably cursing out Mane after that game. But, focus on that game is prayers up for Harvey Elliott. Hopefully he's back, and wishing him all the best. But yeah, that's the team. It in terms of a performance, it was average. At best, it was average. Antonio with the red card, oof, that's tough. Calvert-Lewin not playing, also tough. Son forcing me into it. It's more the transfer deductions that I'm more frustrated with. But yeah, the midfield, I can never seem to get a good midfield. I don't know why. My forwards and my defense are typically pretty solid, but my midfield is just, I'll get one good player and everybody else just sits around twiddling their thumbs. But anyway, that was game week 4. Putting it in the past, leaving it behind. This is my down game week. Everybody gets a mulligan. Everybody gets an off day. Let's move on to game week 5. We're going to have some heavy hitters. All right, so let's take a look at my team for game week 5. We'll start off just looking at my transfers, and there are a lot of transfers. I always like having game weeks where I can make plenty of transfers where I can be a little bit creative, and oh boy, I got creative. So coming in, we got Steer for Sanchez, Bachman for Lloris, Good for Janssen, Omobamidele for Dean, Semedo for Laporte, Ayling for Diaz, Mendy for Bissouma, Salah for Pogba, Rafinha for Benrahma, Gray for Traore, Vardy for Calvert-Lewin, and Jimenez for Antonio. So, let's talk about, well, how am I exactly affording all these transfers? Free hit. We are using the free hit this week, and the reason why is because my Game Week 4 team, if we look back at it, you can go back and check and compare and contrast. It's also a decent Game Week 6 team. I'll make like one transfer to get rid of a singular Man City defender, and other than that, it's good to go. Like, it's a solid Game Week 6 lineup as well. Also, the fact that had I not used it, I would either have to find a replacement for Antonio and probably Calvert-Lewin, because it's most likely he's not playing this week either, and trying to rework all of that, it was a better option given the outages. Free hit, have like a one-off on this week, go nuts, and then we get back to the same team for Game Week 6. So, let's talk about this team. Starting off with the bench, I've gone absolutely bargain bin, the cheapest of the cheap to make sure I get all that cash on the field. So Steer, 4.0. Omobamidele, 3.9. Mendy, 4.4. Good, 3.9. Even in net, Bachman's only a 4.5. The only like premium defender I have is Trent, because beyond that, like, what else do you really need? So yeah, let's talk about it. Bachman going up against Norwich, he's been decent. Like against Spurs, the only goal he let in was that fluky one against Son. Only allowed 2 against Wolves. Like, to be fair, this guy he's a decent keeper, so might as well give him a chance. And if he doesn't work out, oh well, I only spent 4.5 on him. Semedo, he's been insane. He's been crazy good all season, and it's just because Wolves have been unfortunate that he doesn't really have the stats to show for it. Trent is Trent. He's going to be in everybody's team anywhere you look. If you don't have Trent, I don't know what you're doing. Ayling, I mean, Leeds is going up against Newcastle. You can't, like, if you're going up against Newcastle, like, fantasy managers are going to love you if you're playing Newcastle. So I've got both Ayling and Rafinha, hoping to get, I'm hoping to get Rafinha. I'm aiming for a goal and an assist. That'd be my sweet spot. I know a lot of people are going for Bamford. I'll talk about my attack in a second, but Ayling, potential to keep the clean sheet there. We'll see. Newcastle have actually done pretty well at finding the back of the net at least once per, like, there's only one game where they've been shut out, so hopefully Leeds can do that to them, but we'll see what happens. Rounding out the midfield, we also have Demirai Gray, who's been phenomenal to start the season. It was a toss-up between him and Doucouré, but I ultimately settled on him because Gray has more of a goal-scoring threat, whereas Doucouré, you're more relying on the assists. Then Salah, I mean, no introductory. Now, it's Salah. I don't need to explain my reasoning. I can explain, oh, he's playing against Palace, blah, blah, blah. I can just say, it's Salah. And then we have Jota. Going against Salah, he had a tough game week with Mane not being able to finish his dinner, but Jota has put himself in the right places. He can get it done. Up front, we've got Vardy, Jimenez, and Ronaldo. I like the Ronaldo pick because, like, it's Ronaldo, and he's going up against West Ham, which is it's a decently tough fixture, but still, it's Ronaldo. People are going to be looking for him to get into the right places, and he will get into the right places. Why? Because he's Ronaldo. Jimenez, once again, another Wolves player who's been doing all the right things and just hasn't been able to catch a break, but going up against Brentford, both him and Semedo, and probably Traore, but he's on my team. Yesterday's news. Those two going against Brentford, they should be able to do something. And then Vardy going up against Brighton. Brighton typically falls to Leicester, and it's Vardy who's, like, he's gonna, if there's a goal being scored for Leicester, chances are it's him. So he has a chance. I'd say he could probably get a couple. I'm expecting at least 2 from him. That's my goal, at least. This is my team for this week. Oh, hopefully it's a good rebound from last week. Whew, that was a toughie. All right, that does it for me. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you found it insightful. Hope I helped you at least a little bit, even just through sharing about ideas. You never know. Yeah, but if you enjoyed it, feel free to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'll be back next week to do it again. And also, next week, only a week away before we start prepping for the match day 2 of the UCL. I have links posted down below if you want to join either the UCL Fantasy League or my FPL League. So yeah, thanks for being here. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Peace.